And here you go, Matt.
All right, thanks, Scott. So to kick off the conversation today, I really just want to start with what really drives StealthWatch product development. And that's really to build a product that is easy to use and highly scalable, and really help with just providing a general visibility and intelligence to the security investigator to both detect threats, drive easily through the investigation phase, and then accelerate the incident response process. So with that in mind, we'll go through the rest of the presentation, but that's really what we have driving product development. So for those of you that managed to make it to a presentation or a webinar that our CTO did a couple of weeks ago about the OODA loop, some of this will sound a little bit familiar, but I would really encourage those that didn't make it to look back at those slides, maybe watch the recording. But the OODA loop is playing a fundamental role in how we're doing StealthWatch development now. Looking at what the actual solution vision delivers, it's really about basically giving the right tools and data to accelerate the OODA loop of our different customers. And ultimately, that really is about turning data into knowledge. Data such as flow data, user data, different log data, et cetera, and then applying or bringing intelligence on top of that data. That's application, user information, context, et cetera. So helping the user to be able to drive that data and context into meaning and then ultimately knowledge. And that vision is really what is helping to drive and achieve our solution objectives and vision. So to those ends, StealthWatch 6.5 is a significant release. We've really taken those concepts that we've done and laid the framework for what's going to be future versions of StealthWatch aside of what we've done in 6.5. So at a high level, this is what we've got in 6.5. This is the at-a-glance screen, different features that have come. Primarily inside of the new security features, you'll see what we refer to as the operational network security intelligence dashboard. This is really when we start introducing kind of an improved user experience, which is part of a new web UI that's helped to accelerate security analysis. We've also introduced the ability to do StealthWatch Labs Security Updates, and then a feature called the user-defined threat criteria. We've also have some enhancements to just how to work with flow data in general, leveraging the new web UI that's there. We've enhanced quick views, showing more important details about a flow at a quick glance. And then we also have the ability to do, inside of the web UI, do more involved or advanced flow queries and then quickly sift through those results. We've also added a new product called the FlowSensor 4000. This is functionally very similar to the existing FlowSensor appliance, just designed for 10 gigabit environments, and then also providing the application identification that's traditionally been inside of the FlowSensor appliance. We've also introduced enhanced support for flow data out of Palo Alto Networks' next generation firewalls, supporting the application ID and user ID fields that are a component of those flow records. We've also introduced some new REST API elements to make flow information more easily accessible for integration with third-party products. So before I dive into some of the new features, I just want to do a quick review of the attack lifecycle model and how we are reviewing the attack lifecycle at Lancope now. So before an attack really occurs, the attacker is going to do some level of initial reconnaissance. Now, this initial reconnaissance, it can happen outside of the purview of the organization. It might be going to LinkedIn to identify employees, then going to Facebook to identify personal information about those employees, and then maybe leveraging some social tools or some other types of means recover a password and then use that information to do a non-technical initial compromise. Now, the initial compromise could be technical, could be non-technical, but the point being the attacker is able to, without actually going through the perimeter, through a technical perimeter, get an initial compromise or an operational footprint onto the network interior. And once that an operational footprint is established, there's going to be some level of command and control, and this is what we refer to as infiltration phase. So at this point, with this operational footprint inside of the security perimeter on the network interior, the attacker is then going to perform some level of exploratory actions. This is identifying other resources or other places that he can move his point of presence inside of the organization, and then actually performs that footprint expansion. As their footprint expands, or as they're executing against their objective, they'll do another step which we've identified in the last few months with different data breaches that have been made publicly available, is this stage called staging. And this is really just the getting ready for the attack or executing in their final objective, which is more often than not data theft, but it could also be disruptive activities. So staging might be an example of collecting a bunch of data in one spot before they export it off, or it could be readying your inspection or your point of presence to the point that you want to run a disruptive activity inside of that target enterprise. So, and the reason I've reviewed this is in what we call the Operational Network Security Intelligence Dashboard. We've really created high-level alarm categories that are really aligned along that kill chain or attack lifecycle model. And so over on the left-hand side, you'll see those high-level alarm categories. There are 5 of them right now, and as we look at expanding those categories to even more specifically to different elements of the attack lifecycle or kill chain, as we identify more or are able to extrapolate what the concern index or elements of the concern index might be. Now, the Operational Network Security Intelligence Dashboard really is just providing a high-level, like at a quick view glance of the current security health of the organization. So we see the high-level alarm categories over on the left, and then there is kind of a heat map showing outside hosts with high concern index. These are hosts that are actively targeting their organization from the outside world. And then down at the bottom, we see on the left top 10 high CI hosts. So this is the external ones that we see in the heat map, and then you have the top 10 inside concern index hosts. These are the most suspiciously behaving hosts inside of the organization. So I mentioned we have right now 5 high-level alarm categories, and we're going to try to expand them later. Top one being exfiltration. So this indicates a host that has been transferring an abnormal amount of data, and that's based off of something called EXI, or exfiltration index points. And we have command and control, which is indicating the existence of bot-infected server or host inside of your network. And these are and this alarm is generated by command and control points. Generally speaking, this means they are communicating with known command and control servers, and we'll get an alarm accordingly. Policy violation. This is a host that is doing behavior that violates network policies that have been defined inside of the system. An example of that being the new user-defined threat criteria or the old host locking violation alarms. Concern index and target index are relatively unchanged from previous releases, but these are hosts that are, in the case of the concern index, hosts that appear to be compromising network integrity, and then the target index are hosts that appear to be the victims of the suspicious behavior of other hosts. So on that previous screen, you probably noticed there were some different colors of the alarms. So inside of the dashboard, what we see is a blue alarm. That's no security event. So in this case, an example might be here. We have Keanu Reeves. He's quite happy and, looks quite normal, and there's no really security event occurring with him there. Yellow is some security events have happened. Baseline is not deviated, but slightly suspicious. You've done something suspicious, and so now there's Keanu Reeves. He's got sunglasses on. He's dressed in black. This is normal-ish, not something you need to be really concerned about, but suspicious because it's a little bit different than when he's smiling and happy. Orange is many security events. Baseline has deviated, so you've basically gone one step above the baseline, but below 2 steps above the baseline. So you're very suspicious. So now we have Keanu Reeves. He's wearing a trench coat, which is open. He's got guns. Okay, so this is no longer in the normal range of human behavior. And then red is significant security events. Baseline is deviated. You're extremely suspicious, or a known bad has occurred. So here we have Keanu Reeves. He's in the bank. His guns are out. He's shooting things. So the user-defined threat criteria feature, this is an enhancement of the ability to do a custom event. So in the old previous releases, we had something called host lock violation alarms. Host lock violation was really an alarm on the existence of a flow condition. The flow condition generally being 5-tuple up into maybe like the application or service. Really enhance that to go much more detailed around object and peer. We can even generate alarms specific to a user with combinations of application, ports, directionality, and then connection to conditions as well, including time of day, duration, and then total bytes or total packets that are involved in the flow. This is a much richer functionality to be able to alarm on than we were previously capable of doing. Really just allowing somebody to monitor policy effectively inside of the environment, and generate alarms for basically known bad or policy type activities. We also have introduced the ability to basically take that similar type of screen and then do detailed flow analysis. So, we've always had the ability to do like a look back or run a flow query inside of the system, but we've really upped the ability to basically build a query. So inside of one screen, we have all the different elements that you can run a query on and filter on here. Multiple different includes and exclude conditions are possible inside of the search conditions. And then when the results return, we have the ability to not only save the results and save the query to run again later. We have something called faceted filtering, which is over on the left-hand side, which just allows you to quickly traverse the results of the query. And we've written a blog post on this topic that I would encourage you to go and look at. But what it ends up happening is, generally speaking, what happens when you run a query, you might end up back with a bunch of data. As you're looking at the conditions on the left-hand side about that query, or about the results of the query, you might notice things that are jumping out at you, and you can quickly click on those and filter them down to find flows that are of interest based on where this investigation is taking you. The quick view, like I said, is showing a quick view of what is of interest inside of that flow. So it's quickly able to answer the question of who's talking to who, with what, from when, where, how much, and how long, and then any additional details that the system is able to know about that flow, such as URL details if you have a FlowSensor appliance present. So we also have built up this is the new host snapshot view, or so we're looking at the host snapshot for 10.10.101.24. Over on the left, we see any alarms that are currently associated with that host. We can see the users that are currently or that have held that IP address recently. There's also general information about that host up in the host group section in the little blue box at the top of the screen. And then we can also quickly get a view of the different activities and applications that are available. So I mentioned the integration with Palo Alto Networks earlier. This really manifests itself on a screen such as this one, where we see the application detail and then identity awareness of the screen, or inside of this quick view here. The new app ID or the application ID and the user ID inside of Palo Alto Networks flow data is leveraged on screens like this just to populate what is the application detail and the users and sessions associated with this IP address. So going into what we have new coming out of StealthWatch Labs, or new security updates, we have a couple new security events that have been added to this system. One is suspect data hoarding, and the other is target data hoarding. So suspect data hoarding is identifying hosts that have a large amount of data inbound from other hosts. So in the case, if we remember the attack lifecycle model I was talking about, this is a host that is basically collecting a bunch of information as he's going through the attack, basically trying to going out to different servers or resources across the organization, trying to collect a bunch of data before sending it out. We've seen this attack or this type of behavior in a couple different high-profile data thefts over the last year. So this alarm really helps to address things like insider threats or general long-term advanced persistent threat type attacks where somebody is in the organization slowly collecting and stealing data. Suspect data hoarding, target data hoarding is when a host is sending a large amount of data from a single host to multiple hosts. This is almost moving what was the previous one on it, turning it around on its head. This is when you have a host that might be a high resource or high value resource that is having a lot of data stolen off of it. Also in 6.5, we added the ability to do out-of-band updates to the security engine. So this is the ability to add new security algorithms to the system independent of the product release cycle. And we actually will have some new security algorithms coming out within the next week or so based on some of the research that StealthWatch Labs has been doing. These new security updates just allow the ability to, they're presented as what we call SSU, or a security or a StealthWatch security update file, which you can then just apply inside of the user interface to update the security engine and have a new algorithm or a new security event present. So the last thing that I want to mention is new inside StealthWatch 6.5 is the FlowSensor 4000. Functionally identical to previous FlowSensor appliances. We just a new piece of hardware that is built up for deployment inside data centers or 10 gigabit level environments to deliver the functionality of the FlowSensor, which is application information, packet level metrics that might not have been possible inside of those environments from native NetFlow or previous versions of the FlowSensor appliance that simply weren't designed for 10 gigabit environments. And with that, I would open it for questions and any general information.